Two public questions. I think we have three of them. I think the first one's from Kushi from Nottingham.
Hi, my name is Kushi. I'm 22 years old and I'm from Nottingham. My question to the Chief Constable is, what is the force doing to better protect vulnerable children, especially those at a risk of exploitation, and how will you know if it's actually improving their outcomes? Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you. And we'll sort of stick with the same format of our start and then probably hand over to both, because I think both got extensive experience of child exploitation. And I mean, the key thing, and I know that it's been referred to quite a lot throughout, is partnership. This isn't something that the police can resolve on their own, but we are really conscious that child exploitation, whether that's child sexual exploitation or into the sort of the wider criminal exploitation, is something that does affect our communities and victimises children and young people unnecessarily and causes them risk of significant harm. So we have dedicated teams based within Nottinghamshire Police who focus specifically on these areas of work. We have intelligence feeds both between us, the partners, and the region that again identifies those most at risk and feeds them into a partnership approach to look at how we can resolve these issues. Some of those matters will become criminal investigations. Other matters can deal with sort of disruption notices, such as a child abduction warning notice that we can give to a perpetrator who is exploiting a child to make sure they don't have any contact, as well as going into some of our more serious sort of sexual crime prevention orders to target the perpetrator and protect the victim in these cases. How do we know it's a success? This is going to be a long-term journey. We do look at reoffending sort of rates, we do look at victimisation rates, and we do look at have we identified every child that is being exploited? Categorically not. It is something that we look to try and develop that intelligence on and maximise that intelligence on. But it is a partnership approach that we take. We take it extremely seriously. We work very well with our partners, very well with the third sector to put mitigation plans in place and prosecute where absolutely necessary. I don't know if you want me to go left or right first.
I was just going to say something generally, Kushi, about what we train our officers on the front line, because at the other end of the spectrum we've got dedicated specialist teams who deal with, look after, investigate all matters relating to children that are at risk of either sexual or criminal exploitation. But our eyes and ears are really, from a policing perspective at least, are on the ground. So every single police officer who serves the public is taught about our vulnerability strategy, and we've got a really clear message to those officers, which is know it, spot it, and stop it. And I'll just spend just 30 seconds on each. The know it means we expect them to know the definition of vulnerability. So when they are going out encountering members of the public, and in particular children, those officers are taught to be professionally curious, and they're taught to challenge themselves and ask themselves, is that person, as a result of the circumstances that they find themselves in, unable to care for or protect themselves from either harm or exploitation? So that's the know it. The spot it part is we ask them to be professionally curious about the types of signs. So they're looking out for signs and or evidence that the child is vulnerable and or being exploited. And then perhaps the most important part of all, the stop it, which is, put simply, do something about it, which might mean taking immediate action there and then. It might mean making a referral to another agency, because as the Chief says, actually the answer to longer term vulnerability and protection from exploitation is not just a police thing, it's a partnership endeavour. Or signpost for help and support. So that's just something about the front line. I don't think there's anything, Heather, you wanted to add at all to anything?
No, that's just complemented by our trauma-informed practice training that we have around our officers being really child-centred. And in terms of how do we know that it's effective, there's the obviously long-term outcomes that the Chief referred to, but we have a dedicated analyst that looks at our high-risk, vulnerable children, and all the safeguarding work that's happening with those children, that reviews the work that's been done to reassess the risk to that child and whether the outcomes have been effective or not. If not, then we go back to the start with the multi-agency meetings. So we have a dedicated analyst that looks at how effective are our outcomes for our most high-risk children on a case-by-case basis.